With us in the studio now are Richard Seaborne and Jeff Lefferts, both of whom have created a new game called the Tower of Myraglen, which is published by PBS Software. Gary.
Richard, this machine, or your game, uses a special board apparently to produce the stereo sound. How is the sound actually stored in the machine?
The actual sound is stored in digitized data. That is to say, we take an audio source, such as a tape or a stereo playback, and we'll record that effectively into RAM on the computer, and we can play that back at varying rates.
Played back through that special board that's in there?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us about the game.
The actual game is the Tower of Myraglen. What you're trying to do is play the role of a knight of justice, a defender of right. You're going into the tower to try to prove that you are good, justified, and that you are also intelligent and, shall we say, a bit strong. You want to go through all the monsters in the combat and so forth, and try to prove you're good and get the medallion from Mendeley.
Okay, give us an example of how you use the sound in here and how you've added sound to typical adventure fantasy game.
Okay, a lot of adventures in the past have always had sounds because they harp a lot on the adventure, and they forget the other side, the action side and the sound side. It really makes it like you're there, puts you in the situation. What we've done is go ahead and say anytime you go through doors, you hear the doors slam. When you portcullis falls, you hear that slam. Any sort of noises, including everything ranging from every individual monster has its own roars and screams. I'm going to show you an example right here.
Okay, tell us what you're doing as you do it.
Okay, I'm going into the room. I'm fighting some ghosts and some demons.
And each one of those sounds has been digitized through a tape player.
Now I've died.
Okay, no more sound.
Now, and the monsters on the right side come out of the right
They're
side.
coming out of the right
Okay.
side.
And you can hear them shift back and forth. As you move across the room, the monsters will try to follow you, and you can try to follow them. You can hear both sides.
So you don't only have a heavy use of sound here and all the sound effects, but stereo sound effects on top of it.
Yeah.
Now you have a pretty clever way of getting the most out of the space you have in there in terms of the reuse of sounds. Explain that.
Okay, sound data can be used again and over and again by trying to find sounds which, when played back very fast, actually can be heard by the human as something different. An example would be we'll hear ghosts moaning and screaming and demons roaring. And those same sounds can be changed by playing back very quickly as being a much smaller creature because it's actually higher frequency. And the same thing, the ghost moan, for example, does become a rat squeak. And the thunderclaps can become door slams and so forth.
Okay, now there are lots of adventure fantasy games around. What really distinguishes this new one and makes it different from the others?
Okay, well the other ones have already tried one of two approaches. Take an already existing game and make it better, or do something entirely new. This game says, well, wait a minute, that's not really the way to design a game. Take all the games that have been good, take all their advantages, and put them into one.
Steal a little bit from everybody.
Sort of like Bach. Take what each one is that's good, and put those into your game, and make the adventure something that an adventurer will appreciate, not just a maze to go through.
Now, with all this digitizing, I mean, what are the memory demands of this game?
The actual game will work in a 512K machine.
So you need minimum 512K to even play the game.
And what about the price of the board and so forth they add on board?
The stereo card?
Yeah.
Or the stereo card from MD Ideas is really not that expensive. You
It's normally $60. Yeah.
Okay, so it's relatively
And you don't even need the card to play the game, although it helps a lot.
Just to get the stereo out of it.
Yeah, just to get stereo.
And it'll also allow you to drive speakers directly if you don't have an amplifier or stereo available.
Okay, now getting back to memory, you say you need minimum 512, but
if you have more RAM, you can actually have more sounds. For example, when the character's running through the mazes and he confronts obstacles, some sounds will be abridged, shortened, or entirely removed in order to fit in that memory. If you have more memory, the game says, hey, I'm going to use your more memory, and it loads in more sounds. So like when he dies, you'll hear him scream no as he collapses to the floor instead of just collapsing to the floor with a grunt.
Okay, you got some more games coming up like that now?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we do.
Well, I think the most satisfying thing, Gary, is this guy wrote the game and he died just in there. And I got a lot of pleasure out of that. Gentlemen, thanks very much for joining us. Now,